For the next half hour, we'll be bringing you news of the past 2 weeks and the fire that has changed Santa Rosa and our surrounding region forever. We'll check in with an advocate for our undocumented neighbors and a representative of the industry that drives the region's economy. You'll hear from evacuees and officials, and we'll provide information about services you can access immediately to help with the recovery. We'll also consider answers to the questions, why now and why here? Welcome to North Bay Fire, A Community Unites. Stay with us. I'm Steve Mencher, News Director of KRCB. KRCB radio host Mark Prell didn't miss a single shift of Morning Edition or All Things Considered in the past 2 weeks, even when his own home in the Bennett Valley neighborhood of Santa Rosa lost power and was threatened by the fire. Every morning he came in and there was just a stream of information coming in from local, national, and federal officials, and you sifted through that and presented it on the air to our listeners. Right now you have some updated information for us, and we'd like you to bring it to us now, Mark. Thanks.
Sure. Well, Steve, it's definitely a lot of information, but the good news now, the big message is that many of the residents that were evacuated have been now allowed to return home. And in that process, there's going to be a lot of things to know, especially if your home is in a damaged or burned out area. So a couple of things we know is that hazardous conditions still exist. So anticipate firefighters and other heavy equipment to be working throughout the area. You're advised to drive slowly and don't text and drive. Yield to emergency personnel in the area at all times. And if you have to do any kind of work near a damaged structure of any kind, know that there are asbestos and heavy metals that are present. Other byproducts of plastic and chemical combustion are there. Use protection. Wear an approved mask. Also sturdy shoes, jeans, long sleeve shirt. And the City of Santa Rosa and the County of Sonoma have provided informative training as well as resources and tools needed to salvage personal effects from burned out homes. You can get more information at SantaRosaSRCity.org, that's the Santa Rosa website, SonomaCounty.ca.gov, or of course KRCB.org.
Now we know in downtown Santa Rosa, FEMA and other agencies have come together at the Press Democrat building, that's at 427 Mendocino Avenue. And there's really a lot of services all combined there. Tell us what's available.
Well, indeed, Steve, they're calling it a one-stop shop, which is really convenient. If you are missing your ID, perhaps it was lost in the fire, you can get a new ID right there in that center, photo and all. You can also get copies of marriage certificates, birth certificates. Insurance representatives from a variety of companies will be on hand to answer all your needs. Representatives from FEMA are also in the local assistance center, the LAC, as they're calling it, and they can get the ball rolling. And if you would like to get the ball rolling sooner, you can go online to disasterassistance.gov and start doing the preliminary, filling out the preliminary information so they can start a claim for you.
That's great. And we should also note that the Sonoma County District Attorney is on the case, and they're very concerned that no price gouging take place during this event.
Absolutely right, Steve. And they want to let residents know that price gouging essentially is anything that's greater than 10% of the pre-fire selling price. So if you do suspect there's price gouging going on, then you can contact them on their website, sonomacounty.ca.gov/district-attorney.
Thanks, Mark Prell, host of NPR's Morning Edition and All Things Considered on KRCB. For those of you who know KRCB's history, the call letters stand for Rural California Broadcasting. There's still a lot of land in this area that's devoted to farms and parks and open spaces, but building out to the edge of those wilder places has left the region particularly vulnerable to the kind of catastrophe we're now experiencing. Filmmaker Maya Khosla is in production of a documentary called Firewise, which considers the increased danger from outdated fire management practices amplified by climate change. Here's an excerpt.
We're spending so much money, and we've long passed the point of diminishing returns. You know, spending more and more money, we're still seeing larger and larger fires, more homes burning, more firefighters dying on the line. And also they're the most at risk from flawed policies and flawed practices. Their bodies, their lungs are literally on the line.
Putting out fires that are 30 miles from a road and where there is some chance that the firefighters are going to maybe get hurt or maybe do some things that are really bad for the forest, that does not make sense. And that is the paradox that we're trying to deal with. If you manage 100 feet or so around your house for fuel, for having a good fuel profile, you have a pretty good chance of your house surviving a wildfire. There's good research that says it's really the first about 100 feet, 120 feet is the only thing that matters when it comes to the vegetation getting your house on fire.
Dollar for dollar, each dollar you spend preparing for fire, proactively planning for fire, saves $7 or more you spend trying to put out the fire and are not effective. You just got to make homes more fire resistant, and we know how to do that. We could renovate and retrofit every rural home in America with a metal roof. That alone raises their probability of surviving fire 95%. And that's science, that's physics. That would be expensive to give everyone a metal roof, but that's a one-time cost. Done.
Between the thermal pane and the metal roof and all these construction materials being the best I could find, I'm still real aware that it's a wood frame house, that there's 8,000 board feet of kiln-dried lumber in there waiting to combine with oxygen.
What you need to do is focus on creating a fireproof structure and dealing with vegetation immediately surrounding the homes in order to be able to live with fire, which we all must do because fire is a natural process, has been here since long before we were here. The animals in the forest know how to adapt to it and benefit from it.
I made the conscious choice to live here in the Sierra foothills, and there's a lot of wildland fires, so it's my responsibility to make sure that it's safe for me and I don't cause a lot of drama for someone else to come save my house. That's my responsibility. I just think that if you choose to live in a place that is high fire danger, if we're making those choices, then you have to be responsible about taking care of yourself and not putting that responsibility on firefighters. They're not going to get to every house. I know that from fighting fires. We couldn't get to every house.
Homes are more flammable than the forest itself. And so once a wildfire enters a community, it's no longer a wildfire, it's an urban fire. It's got to be a whole community united, prepared for fire. Because if your neighbor doesn't do their share, their house is going to ignite your house.
When you move out here into a forested area, you have a responsibility to your neighbors. That fire cannot read a property boundary sign. When you're out here in the woods, what it is having a properly thinned and cleaned up area around your house and on your property in general.
Here in Sonoma County, as we've started the recovery process, the extra challenges for undocumented families have quickly become apparent, and several organizations have stepped up to create a fund to help those members of our community. I talked with Ana Lugo, president of the North Bay Organizing Project, about this initiative.
So as the events unfolded over the past 2 weeks, you saw this need to help the undocumented community. What special needs do those folks have that other people don't have in terms of getting help?
I don't think that the need is special in terms of what they need. I think that the gap is in terms of the assistance they will get. So FEMA will provide assistance for people if one person in their household has a social security number, but if they're undocumented families or undocumented people who don't have anyone with a social security number, then they will not be able to get assistance, right? Also, the type of assistance that FEMA will provide is limited. And so we are really just trying to cover cover the gaps and ensure that everyone gets the resources they need to, one, feel protected, but also rebuild here in Sonoma County. Because the last thing we want is people leaving our county and really changing the makeup of who we are in such a drastic way.
Okay, so the very most vulnerable right now are the undocumented because, as you say, of this gap for them getting help. So you've started the Undocu Fund. Tell me what that is.
The Undocu Fund is we're raising money to then distribute 100% of all the funds raised directly to people as money, not as many people are donating things. We're not giving out things, we're giving out money. So if people need money because they didn't work for a week, or because they need to pay their rent, or their children need shoes, right? But we're also thinking about the long term in terms of what happens a year from now when our national, climate and state climate have changed and other things have happened.
When the attention goes elsewhere.
When they've moved on from Sonoma County, how do we still ensure that we protect our vulnerable communities who are going to need help today, a year from now, and probably even 5 years from now, right? So unfortunately, I don't think that many of our people who are most vulnerable are ever going to have too much money in their hands. So we need to ensure that we're thinking about today, but also years from now. We're having a town hall meeting on Saturday at 2:30 p.m. at the Rosa Accelerated Middle School gym, and that is for Spanish speakers. We're inviting the whole Latino community from all areas of Sonoma County to come and hear from local officials. Este sábado a las 2:30 en la escuela de Roseland Accelerated Middle School en el gimnasio. La escuela está en la calle West Avenue. Va a haber un foro comunitario para toda la gente que habla español, que necesita saber más sobre qué está pasando con los incendios y qué tipo de ayuda y soporte va a haber para ellos. Estamos invitando a todo el condado de Sonoma. You can go to undocufund.org or call 707-529-9909 if you have questions or are looking to donate.
Okay, Ana Lugo has been joining us. She's president of the North Bay Organizing Project. Thanks, Ana, so much for joining us.
Thank you.
When we heard that families were fleeing the fire-affected areas and landing at a state park on our coast, we visited Doran Beach and, along with the New York Times, documented the scene there.
My family and I were evacuated from our home in Santa Rosa, and the first thing we can think of is, well, let's pack up the car, pack up the kids, pack up our animals, and head out to the coast, because it's probably the safest place. It's furthest away from the fires, and I'm going to have to be at work anyway, so we might as well go. So we packed up and got out here about 5 o'clock in the morning, and as we're traveling out, there's hundreds of people, it seemed like, that were on the roads trying to escape. And when we arrived, the park was almost full. We unlocked the day use areas. The campground hosts helped me as well, just so we could have these areas open for the visitors who are here so they could have restrooms and shelter and whatnot.
We were really just trying to provide the essentials, the basic needs. Firstly, roof over the head, and here it's meaning tents, something soft, mats, blankets. We've gone through pillows, blankets mostly, toiletries, toothbrushes, things like that.
It's kind of, eerie just to be left and see fires in the hills all around you, and then go, wow, we got to get out of here. I started heading out here about 1 o'clock on Tuesday, and then the evacuation notice came from my area in the Boy Springs that everybody had to leave by 3. So we kind of got ahead of the plan. The state has been wonderful. Just let us come in, accommodating us with everything we need.
People are wanting to pay, and we're like, no, they don't have to pay us anything. You're here to seek refuge, just like we are. There's lots of shelters within Sonoma County, sonomacounty.ca.gov. People go on the website, they can find areas where they can find proper shelter.
So I think people should realize that it's more important to get out and just be out of the way, because the first responders really need to just be able to do what they're supposed to be here for. I know that our house is still standing and the power's still on, and but if the wind picks up, it's just a little unnerving to know that we're still not out of the woods yet.
The insecurity part of it, you don't know what you're going to go home to. It could be, a burnt house, or it could be just like you left it. And I'm hoping for that. It's just devastating to have to be evacuated, and I want to thank the firemen for all the help they've done for us in protecting our homes. And
it's just neat to see how everybody has come together to help each other out. Whether you're affluent or poor, people were all working together and helping each other out. People who have lost their own homes are saying, what can we do to help out? So.
It wasn't long after the fire started on October 8th that the media were calling it the wine country fire. That's how many people think of Napa and Sonoma counties, the areas hardest hit by the fire. Karissa Kruse is president of Sonoma County Winegrowers.
Vines are living things. They have a lot of moisture this time of the year because we're kind of at the heart of our harvest time season. And so what happens is when the fires, what we've seen happen at least, and we haven't had all reports in yet, so we might hear of something that, veers off course, but is that the fire would go in if it did affect a vineyard and go through the row, but really just burn what is the very dried cover crop that is typically planted in spring. So right now without the rains, they're incredibly dry. So that's what's really burning. And then you see in some cases some leaves are burned, but we're about to lose them anyway. And as the vines would go dormant for the season. And so we're not actually seeing vine damage, which is, so again, if there's a silver lining right now in this whole situation, at least for the wine industry, is that, vine health seems to be good. And they have, because of that, they've slowed down fires, they've protected structures, they've protected homes and people in homes all around our county, which has been, a really great story coming out of this.
Now, one of the things I'd like to talk about before we go on to more information about the wineries and the owners and so forth are the workers. I'm sure there's been a lot of attention paid to make sure that the workers are safe if they're going back out in the fields. Tell me a little bit about that, how you've been assuring that the workers are safe.
Absolutely. I mean, our grape growers, just like everyone, follow, what's been going on with our air quality, and working really closely with our ag commissioner's office on, getting, if there is masks or is that appropriate use, doing some harvest during the middle of the night where things might be clearer. And certainly if there was ever a question of safety, the harvest didn't happen. I run the Sonoma County Grape Growers Foundation, and we actually had an emergency board meeting yesterday, and in partnership with the Sonoma County Farm Bureau, so kind of now talking all agriculture in our county, we launched a fund specifically to support ag employees and their families, really bridge to get back into households. So what we mean by that is supporting, first and last month's rent, getting connected to utilities. Do you have plates? Do you have glasses? Do you have sheets? Do you have towels? These soap. So creating this specific fund to support our ag employees that were affected by the fire and really helping them get back into a house. I mean, long term, if we raised enough money, we would look at, can we do something more in terms of building or support? But clearly right now it's about how do we get folks stable and their families stable and safe. And so it's the Sonoma County Grape Growers Foundation. Our website is scggf.org. Our board committed with the Sonoma County Farm Bureau to do this fund, and we'll continue to take donations for that.
Karissa Kruse, president of Sonoma County Winegrowers. Thanks.
A week ago, it seems more like a month now, we visited the Sonoma County Fairgrounds where people and their large and small animals were being evacuated. When we showed up here this morning at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds, we didn't really know what to expect. We knew that people had been evacuated here, some with their large animals, some with their small animals. We saw people in rows and rows of cots who've been sleeping here since Monday, and we had the opportunity to speak to a few of them and bring that to you. We visited the area where the large animals were being housed to find horses, cows, and even some animals that surprised us. Among the first people we met, Christine and Marcus Gemund. After the initial evacuation, Christine returned to their home near Glen Ellen to rescue their horses.
Something just took over and I said, I need to go, I need to find my way back home, I need to see how things are going there. I found my house was still there.
Good.
It was all intact. I couldn't see any fires. Eventually I packed my horses, the cats, made everything ready. But finally we decided at 3 o'clock in the afternoon that it doesn't get better. It was very smoky, like ashes falling from the sky, you know.
Yeah.
And so we loaded the horses, the cats, and the dogs, and then we came here.
Marcus was in Africa when he heard about the fire.
So I got a call. I was in Ivory Coast, in Abidjan, signing an agreement with the government there for bringing medicines to cancer patients in that country. And right before I was ready to speak, Christine called me and said I had to evacuate. I'm now at Sonoma Mountain, or at the Sonoma Fairgrounds, and I'm safe because I didn't know where she was because the cell phone wasn't working. So, and as soon as I know she was safe, I felt better, and then organized a flight home as quickly as possible. But it took me 36 hours to get here. It was not so easy. I had to get back to Nigeria, where I live, pick up the green card, fly to London, to New York, and then to here.
These people here at the fairground, I mean, they have been so wonderful. We came here with nothing. I'm not experienced in the emergency situation. I didn't take a lot, but they just wonderful. They supplied us with everything, with food, with stuff for the horses, with veterinary care. He had a colic, so yeah.
All right. Well, we'll make sure that they get your thanks.
I hope so. Thank you. I would appreciate.
Okay.
Thank you.
Assemblymember Jim Wood represents the 2nd Assembly District, which starts in the middle of Santa Rosa and continues north to the Oregon border. He was a calm and reassuring presence for his constituents from the very first moments of the emergency.
Actually, I got a call about 2 o'clock in the morning from County Supervisor James Gore. Said, "Hey, do you know what's going on?" I said, "No, I'm not sure what you're talking about." I was in Sacramento, getting ready for to meet bill signing the next morning with the governor, and so I said, "No, what's going on?" He said, "Well, there's a big fire." So at that point, I started getting these NICSL alerts,
right.
Which are really valuable information for people.
Absolutely.
And we realized how quickly this was moving, and so that's when I found out. We're trying to gather as much information, communication, resources together. I've talked to the governor's staff about some of the challenges on how we got CAL FIRE resources and things here. So we're trying everything we can to gather as many resources as we can. Know that we're trying to get people back into their homes as soon as we can, get people back into the areas that have been damaged as soon as we can. But it's dangerous, and please don't go in there. There's a lot of toxics and things, so please be patient. We're doing everything we can to get people back in there as soon as we can.
Alice Plychek is an ICU nurse at Santa Rosa Memorial Hospital and a resident of the obliterated Coffee Park neighborhood in Santa Rosa. She evacuated at 3:15 in the morning as the fire began.
There was smoke everywhere, and the police officer said, "You go out now." He had no flashlight. That man is our hero, because he goes, "You drive over the cement and you go that way." And he was yelling to because people were abandoning vehicles at that time. At 3:15 it was. And
so people were getting out of their cars, they were running for their lives. You were in the middle of this.
We were in the middle of it, yes. We were right in the middle of it, and the car was getting hot, and I mean, it was horrible. The car still smells of smoke, and it took us 55 minutes to go about 4 miles because we were just in gridlock. It was, by that time everybody knew. We were honking horns and we were trying to pick up people on the way. My sister grabbed a blanket and grabbed the macaw. We have a huge macaw, and she grabbed the blanket and threw him in the car. And we got three cats, lost one, but I think he's going to be okay. And then a macaw out. I went back in. And
you did go back in?
I did go back in, and I went the back way because on Monday morning they said 5 houses had burned in Coffee Park. And I already had the dogs at another place, but we left our 3 tortoises. So someone said they'll survive the smoke, but I wanted to get them out, but I went back and the whole Coffee Park was gone.
Oh my God, so
yeah.
Including your tortoises and cats and everything all gone.
Yeah.
It's a little too early for this, but how do you imagine your future? Are you someone who says, I'm going to go back in there and rebuild with the very first folks, or I'm getting out of town? What are you feeling right today?
You know, I took a brick. It's all burnt, but I took the brick and I put it in the backyard because I couldn't carry. We were parked way down. I couldn't carry. But that brick, whatever I build, if it's not there, but I'm going to take that brick and I'm going to rebuild. My mom has a ranch, but we have no water on it right now, so and it's a mess. But maybe I'll rebuild a good house there, or I'll do something like that.
All right, Alice Plychek, thanks for sitting down with us for a few minutes, and the best of luck to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
We thank you for listening to us and staying tuned to KRCB for all the latest developments. I'm Steve Mencher for KRCB News. Our commitment to you, our viewers and listeners, is this: we are with you for the long haul. We'll be seeking your stories and asking you to share them with your neighbors. With our small staff and limited resources, it won't be easy. But there's nothing more important to us than taking part in building a new Santa Rosa and a stronger and more resilient region. Together, we can do great things as we face the challenges ahead. I'm Steve Mencher, News Director of KRCB. Thanks so much for joining us.
Just a little north of the Golden Gate, by the rolling hills, growing grapes are where the sun will chase the fog away. Down a couple blocks and to the right is where Charlie Brown sleeps at night, and now Snoop Dogg still dreams away the day. Yeah, we'd ride our bikes in the summer heat, hump crawdads in the county creek, then hit the hay barn to play hide and seek. Santa Rosa, your roses and final wine run through this blood of mine, and though the road I'm on is taking me to Tennessee, my home will always be Santa Rosa. Yeah, we were in the van to high up on a one, took Shiloh, just having fun on a summer day, late afternoon. When Amberlynn from Pioneer High waved us down and said, I need a ride, well there's a party on the beach, let's all go to. In a timber cove, she took my hand, and we left down on the cool night sand. Boy, it's taken years to understand Santa Rosa. Your roses and final wine run through this blood of mine, and though the road I'm on is taking me to Tennessee, my home will always be, it keeps taking me to Tennessee, but my home will always be Santa Rosa.